The first time I saw the photograph of Lila Hartwell, it struck me how ordinary she looked. A 34-year-old mother of two, her smile soft but tired, her eyes holding the kind of weariness that comes from balancing too many responsibilities. She vanished on a Tuesday afternoon in late October during a routine walk through the woods near her home in Willow Creek, Oregon. The town, nestled between dense evergreens and a winding river, was the sort of place where everyone knew each other's secrets but pretended not to. When the call came in, I didn't expect it to unravel into anything more than a lost hiker case. I was wrong. Lila's husband, Greg, reported her missing after she failed to pick up their daughters from soccer practice. Her phone last pinged near a trailhead known locally as Black Pine Loop, a narrow path frequented by joggers and dog walkers. By the time I arrived, the sun had dipped below the tree line, casting long shadows over the search party's flashlights. The air smelled of damp pine and impending rain. We found nothing that night, no torn clothing, no footprints, no signs of struggle, just an eerie stillness, as if the forest had swallowed her whole. Over the next 48 hours, the case took a darker turn. Lila's social media revealed no red flags, no secret relationships, no financial troubles. Her texts were mundane, grocery lists, reminders about parent-teacher conferences. But when we dug deeper, inconsistencies surfaced. Greg, a contractor with a reputation for volatility, had a restraining order filed against him years earlier by an ex-girlfriend. Neighbors mentioned arguments echoing from their ranch-style home, though none dared call the police. They kept to themselves, one woman said, avoiding eye contact. Then there was the matter of the blue pickup truck. A gas station clerk 3 miles from the trailhead reported seeing a vehicle matching its description parked erratically the afternoon Lila disappeared. The driver, a man in a baseball cap, bought a pack of cigarettes and lingered near the restrooms, his face partially obscured by the brim. Security footage was grainy, but the truck's license plate traced back to a local handyman named Ray Colson, a name that rang bells. Colson had done odd jobs for the Hartwells the previous summer, installing a new deck. Greg claimed they'd fired him over shoddy workmanship. Colson denied it, insisting they'd parted on good terms. By day 3, the search expanded to the riverbanks. K-9 units picked up a scent near an abandoned fishing shack half a mile downstream. Inside, we discovered a single Nike sneaker, size 8, women's, mud-caked but intact. Lila's daughters confirmed it was hers. The shack's floorboards creaked underfoot, and in the corner a rusted folding chair lay overturned. A faint, coppery odor lingered, though forensics found no blood. What they did find was a partial fingerprint on the chair's leg, too smudged for a match, but enough to suggest a struggle. The town's veneer of calm began to crack. Reporters descended, and whispers of foul play rippled through the diner and the PTA meetings. Greg, initially cooperative, grew defensive. He refused a polygraph, citing distrust of government theatrics. Colson, meanwhile, vanished. His landlord said he'd packed a duffel bag and left town abruptly, leaving behind a half-finished paint job and a fridge full of beer. Then came the anonymous tip, a voicemail left at the precinct from a blocked number, a woman's voice trembling, "Check the quarry. You'll find what you're looking there." The quarry, a jagged pit on the outskirts of town, had been dormant for decades. Its murky ponds and limestone cliffs were a magnet for teenagers and thrill-seekers. We combed the area for hours, our boots slipping on loose gravel, until a rookie deputy spotted something glinting in the underbrush. A silver pendant necklace. Its chain snapped. Lila's sister identified it instantly, a gift from Greg on their 10th anniversary. The pendant lay 10 feet from the quarry's edge, where the ground dropped sharply into black water. Divers suited up, but the search was called off at dusk due to poor visibility. As I stood there, staring into the abyss, I couldn't shake the feeling that the quarry held more secrets. Secrets someone had gone to great lengths to bury. Forensics traced the pendant's chain to a hardware store in the next county. The clerk remembered selling it to a man in a hurry, a man matching Coulson's description. When we tracked Coulson to a motel in Idaho, he swore he'd bought the chain to repair a broken necklace for his girlfriend. "I'm no saint," he admitted, "but I didn't hurt Lila." His alibi for the day of the disappearance was flimsy, a solo hike with no witnesses. We held him for questioning, but without concrete evidence, he walked. Back in Willow Creek, Greg Hartwell's behavior grew increasingly erratic. He showed up at the precinct unannounced, demanding updates, his breath reeking of bourbon. "You're wasting time," he snarled. "It's that bastard Coulson. Arrest him." Yet his anger felt performative, like a man rehearsing grief. A deeper dive into his finances revealed a $500,000 life insurance policy on Lila, taken out 6 months prior. When confronted, Greg turned pale. "That's for the girls," he stammered, "in case something happened to both of us." Then a break. Lila's Fitbit synced to her laptop, uploading heart rate data from the day she vanished. The device had stopped transmitting at 2:17 p.m., but not before recording a spike in her pulse, 158 BPM, consistent with panic or exertion. The GPS coordinates placed her not on Black Pine Loop, but 2 miles east, near an old logging road. The road led to a private hunting cabin owned by Greg's uncle, vacant since his death in 2012. The cabin was a relic: weathered wood, cracked windows, a porch sagging under the weight of neglect. Inside, dust motes floated in the slanted light. A stained mattress occupied one corner, empty beer cans littered the floor. And there, beneath a loose floorboard, we found Lila's journal. The entries painted a stark picture. Greg had been controlling, isolating her from friends, monitoring her phone. "He says I'm a bad mother," she wrote. "Thinks I'll take the girls and run." The final entry, dated 3 days before her disappearance, mentioned a confrontation. He found the pills. Now he's talking about fixing things for good. Pills. The word echoed. Lila's autopsy, if we ever found her body, would need to check for toxins. But the journal's most damning passage was a name: Dr. Elias Voss. A quick search revealed Voss was a psychiatrist specializing in trauma, practicing 30 miles north. Lila had been his patient for 6 months. Voss, a man in his 50s with a patrician demeanor, greeted us warily. "Patient confidentiality prohibits me from sharing details," he said, adjusting his wire-rimmed glasses. But when we mentioned Lila's journal, his composure cracked. She feared for her life. Greg had threatened her. I urged her to leave, but she couldn't, not without the children. Armed with a warrant, we returned to the Hartwell home. Greg's lawyer hovered like a vulture, but in the garage, tucked behind a toolbox, we found a shovel caked with fresh soil. The metal blade gleamed under forensic lights, its edge flecked with a substance too dark to be mud. The lab confirmed it. Blood, type O positive, Lila's type. Greg's DNA was on the shovel's handle. He was arrested at dawn, screaming obscenities as cuffs clicked around his wrists. "You'll never prove it," he spat. But the evidence mounted. Soil samples from the shovel matched the mineral composition of the quarry's north bank. Divers returned, this time with sonar. It took 3 days to find her. Lila's body, weighted with cinder blocks, lay 40 feet below the surface, preserved by the cold water. The autopsy showed blunt force trauma to the skull and traces of diazepam in her system, pills prescribed to Greg for anxiety. The final blow, the medical examiner concluded, came from the shovel. Greg's trial was a spectacle. His defense argued circumstantial evidence, blaming Coulson or a mystery drifter. But the journal, the Fitbit data, and Voss's testimony sealed his fate. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Guilty on all counts. Afterward, I drove to the quarry one last time. The water was still, reflecting a leaden sky. Lila's daughters live with her sister now. They visit her grave every Sunday. Greg sits in a cell, appealing his sentence, still insisting on his innocence. But sometimes, in the quiet moments, I think about the blue pickup truck. Coulson's alibi never quite added up. The gas station clerk later recanted, saying the driver might have had a beard. Greg's uncle's cabin. Someone had been there recently. Beer cans dated to the week before Lila's disappearance. The case is closed, yet questions linger like ghosts, secrets buried, truths half told. In towns like Willow Creek, the shadows are long, and the woods never give up all their dead.